Hey everybody, Marco here. I'm back with more on my series of new class builds using the Scribed spells from the Gold Road chapter. Today we're going to look at how I improved one of my very favorite builds in ESO, my Unkillable Magika Sorcerer. This one is God mode, guys. The build is one of my go-tos when trying out new content because he truly is tough to murder. The downside was that this Sorc was nearly all defense, and that made his battles long and drawn out because he didn't pack enough punch. We wanted to find some Scribed abilities that would give him more offense and play along with the theme that sorcerers like big flashy spells that are smack in the face of monsters and other players. Now before I dive in, I'm going to ask you to please hit those subscribe and like buttons. You folks have helped this little channel grow since the new chapter release, and I appreciate it. Please help me keep it going. Alrighty then, let's build an unkillable 1-bar Scribed spell Sorcerer. And to be honest, this build is so good, I'm worried that by making this video, Sauce will nerf it. Here we go though. This is a Magika Sorc, so all your attribute points into Magika. The Mundus is the Thief for the 1800 weapon and spell critical. Food is Bewitched Sugar Skulls, and the potions are the purple Tristat. It's a 1-bar build, so we're using the Oaken Soul Mythic Ring. I've added the Prismatic Enchant, and the trait is Infused. Our one-piece monster set is Slimecraw. I'm wearing the Light Helm with the Divine trait and a Magika enchant. Oaken Soul is picked up through the Antiquities system, and Slimecraw is found in the Wayrest sewers. On to the 2 armor sets. These are both very easy to get, by the way, so you guys should have no problems. The first is Fortified Brass, a craftable set from Clockwork City. Now 2 items adds 1200 health, 3 items adds 1500 armor, 4 items adds another 1500 armor, and 5 items adds 3400 armor. So the Sorc gets pretty tanky. I'm wearing the Brass Lightning Staff with the Precise trait and the Shock enchant, the Brass Necklace infused with the Prismatic enchant, and Ring infused trait with the Prismatic enchant. Now the final piece of fortified brass that I'm wearing is the heavyweight chest piece. This has a reinforced trait to increase the armor by 16%, and again, that prismatic enchant. Okay, newer players may not even know what a prismatic enchant is. It buffs all 3 pools, Magika, Health, and Stamina, and to craft these you need Hikijo runes. Now these can be pricey if bought on guild traders from other players. They can also be bought, though, for 5,000 Telvar stones from a vendor in the Imperial City sewers, right at your Alliance base. Or you can farm them from scamps in the sewers. I have a video on doing just that. In fact, I'm planning a video on my often made recipes, potions, enchants, and other such consumables that I hope some of you will be interested in watching. Okay, the second armor set is brand new from the Gold Road chapter. It's Macabre Vintage. Now this set gives me a laugh, truly. It's all medium weighted, and we place it on the other 5 body slots. Divine trait on all, and a Magika enchant. Here's what Macabre does. 2 items adds weapon and spell, 3 items same, 4 items same, and 5 items same. The total is 537 weapon and spell damage. The added bonus is that when you kill a monster, they burst with blood magic, dealing 50% of their max health to enemies within 6 meters as bleed damage, up to 24,000 damage. It can't be a critical strike, but it can happen every half second. So with Fortified Brass we get a ton of defense, and with Macabre we get a good amount of offense. You may have noticed I'm wearing 1 light piece, 1 heavy piece, and 5 medium pieces of armor. This is to get the added passive Undaunted Metal, which increases Magika, health, and stamina by another 6%. Okay, now let's talk about the skills. I'm using 2 Scribed abilities, but one of them is in a flex spot, so you can decide. I'm really testing these Scribed abilities out to see if they're worth using in the new builds. So far, I've been pretty pleasantly surprised. First up is Leashing Soul. It deals 4,900 magic damage, pulls the baddie, and taunts them for 15 seconds. It also enchants our pet to heal an ally for 970 health each time it deals damage. It also afflicts the enemy with Major Breach for 10 seconds. The recipe for this ability is Wield Soul as the Grimoire, Pull as the focus script, Class Mastery as the signature, and Breach as the affix script. Okay, slot 2 is the flex spot. You can either use crystal fragments from the dark magic abilities from your sorcerer as a spammable, dealing 12,000 magic damage, or you can try out Shocking Explosion from the Scribed menu. Now, Shocking Explosion deals almost 18,000 shock damage immediately, then has a dot which deals another 13,500 shock damage over 20 seconds. It also hits the enemy with minor brittle for 20 seconds. Now, the recipe for Shocking Explosion is Elemental Explosion for the Grimoire, Shock Damage for the Focus Script, Lingering Torment for the Signature, and finally Brittle as the affix script. In an informal poll I did, half the community said they would scribe Shocking Explosion first. As soon as I'm done talking about spells, I'm going to show you our stats and a list of all the buffs and debuffs that this build has. It's pretty amazing. The third slot is for Unstable Wall of Storms, a dot spell that gives 1200 shock damage every second for 7 seconds. It knocks the enemy off balance, and then it finally explodes for another 5700 shock damage. The fourth slot is for our pet, the Twilight Matriarch. The pet gives 1700 shock damage in 2 different ways, and both of those ways are passive. But if you hit the ability, it's a burst heal for both you and your companion. It heals 2 targets for 15,500 health and itself for 7,700 health. And it also works with our Leashing Soul ability for even more heals. Like I said, this sorcerer is very hard to kill. The fifth ability slot is for Elemental Drain. Now, this deals Major Breach for 1 minute and Minor Magika Steal for 1 minute, restoring a bit of Magika back to us. Now, you have choices for your ultimate, but I'm using Shooting Star, the Meteor Morph from the Mages Guild, because I just got that orange skill style color change and it looks really cool. It does nearly 19,000 flame damage and stuns all enemies, knocking them down. Then a dot hits the area for 4,800 damage every second for 13 seconds. It also generates a bunch more ultimate for us. Here's a look at our basic stats. 34,000 max Magika, 26,000 max health, 43.7% spell and weapon critical. Here are the major and minor buffs that this build sports. It's crazy, right? Now finally, the champion points and the passives. In the craft tree, Treasure Hunter, Master Gatherer, Plentiful Harvest, and Steed's Blessing. In the warfare tree, Weapons Expert, Reaving Blows for even more heals, Thaumaturge for an extra 6% damage to those dot spells, and Fighting Finesse. And in the fitness tree, Boundless Vitality, Fortified, Siphoning Spells for resources, and Rejuvenation. You want all your class, racial, and destruction staff passives, and all your medium armor passives if you can handle that. We want the Undaunted Guild passives as well. The rest are up to you. I like continuous attack in the assault line, and I also enabled the Mages Guild passive since I'm using Meteor. This build is a high elf for the Magika resource boosts and the weapon and spell passives we get there, but any race you like can play this great build. I'm using Ember as a DPS companion. Okay, so that's it for this unkillable, 1-bar, Gold Road Scribed Magika Sorcerer build. I've tested this soloing 4-man dungeons, doing arenas, and tearing through all the other content in the game, and trust me, this build works. As always, I'm Marco. Have fun never dying again in the Elder Scrolls Online. Be kind to other players, and keep exploring.